I'm back with another review of the Red Ranger Becomes an Adventurer in Another World, and this definitely has a little bit more to it, which I'm kind of like, do you know what? I'm quite liking this, but let's jump straight into this. Roughly now I know what time it comes out on a Sunday, so I'm able to kind of get everything ready for the next review, and you still have episode 1 to go over. I would recommend go checking it out. There's a lot of stuff in that one to kind of move into this episode, so please go check it out. There wasn't that much comedy in this one compared to the previous episode, which I'm okay with. The amount of comedy that they had was the right amount, and it worked where it needed to be rather than just like willy-nilly and being anywhere that way. So I'm kind of happy about this, but I think a little bit more comedy would work. But for what we had straight away, I'm okay with this. I think I mispronounced Yidira's name in the previous video, so hopefully we're going to say it correctly. I listened to it a few times and hopefully I'm going to get it right. As the episode opens, we have Yidira looking over Red's like kind of physical stats, saying that, yo, he's just like everybody in their world, but she wants to know if he can use mana very similar to the others. Now, when I was kind of thinking about this, I'm hoping that he can't use mana whatsoever. Because it would make sense of him just having his device that can transform him. So having him being able to use magic at the same time, I think would kind of diminish it to some degree. So I'm kind of hoping he doesn't. And the entire episode kind of tries to figure this out, but he doesn't. From what we've seen so far. What made me laugh in this episode is when Yidira is trying to find out if he has any mana, she needs to take blood, so she pulls out a needle and he just literally goes straight to transforming. And I absolutely loved this because it was just one of those things of a lot of people are scared of them. So even though that he can fight giant monsters, get attacked, get slashed in the back, as soon as someone's like, hey, I need this from you, he's like, nope, ready to transform. And I absolutely loved it. That part of the comedy was spectacular and did really, really well in my eyes. What kind of added to this is that they're kind of fighting and she gets on top of him in the end and everyone's just like, just do that at home. Don't do it here, which I'm guessing is a thing that we're going to be seeing in a lot more type of animes that have this sort of thing. But yeah, no one at the guild hall was having it and like, just get home, just go do it at home. The intro to this was absolute fire. I generally really loved this. There were certain shots in this that I generally was like, no, I need this. I need to have this as like posters and stuff because some of it was fantastic and I really, really liked it. So this is one of the best anime openings that I've seen in a long time and I kind of want more. So yeah, like some of the shots were absolutely fantastic. Yidira is given a tag which tells her about her stats, so which you see in multiple like games as well as like other animes that are isekais, where it's like, oh, you have mana, you have attack, you have strength, and this is all your stats. And hers aren't that great apart from her magic, which is amazing. But her like attack strength isn't that great, and I think that will kind of improve over time if they gain levels or it just generally improves like that. But when they look at Red's, it's completely different and it reminds me of like a Sentai sheet like you see in magazines or you see in YouTube videos where they're saying like, this is this character, and it doesn't really give his stats, which I was a bit gutted at. It's just like, oh, he can do the kick, he can do the punch, he's got these weapons, and it opens up very similar, as I said, to those sorts of things of like, this is the Red Ranger, he is here for love and peace and he does this. And I kind of really wanted to know more about his stats, but it's completely different. And I loved the kind of like window display. I kind of really liked it. It felt like everyone should have something like this. The advert that they do is very Sentai, and it just reminded me of like some of the past Sentais that I've watched in the past. But there is one thing in this that will probably annoy me, and I'll mention it at the very end of the video. There isn't much of like an in-depth story from where we go on. It's pretty much you see one major big thing. Normally when animes, they have like a tendency to split into 3 acts or something like this, and this was very kind of like straightforward. So we have the 2 adventurers from the previous episode just come in and, you know, give shit to Yidira straight away. It's just like give her absolute shit for no reason. And she doesn't take it very well. You know, they're going on about her father and the way that he basically bailed after that he lost the ability to be the Spectre, Royal Spectre, whatever it is. So losing the position. And Yidira doesn't like this whatsoever. She goes after them by calling them third-rate adventurers, and it looks like they're about to get into a fight, but Red steps in and says, hey, why don't we just settle this with a quest rather than fighting? And I was like, okay, that's very, very Sentai. So they come to this massive cave, and the adventurers actually know this because they go there multiple times. They've been there so many times, they know exactly where the treasure is. If Ghidorah wins, then they apologize. They say sorry about what we said about your father, but if she loses, then she will do anything that they want. And the first thing that they think of is just lewd stuff, what they can do to her. And you kind of see that going on. Don't know why she's scowling in most of it, but you kind of think that she'd be smiling because it's them thinking about it. As they go into the cave, the adventurers know that if they make certain sounds or loud noises, then the Minotaurs are going to come rushing in and attack them. So they're going to be dead sneaky. And this is where Red just transforms, and because he transforms, the explosion happens, which then brings all the Minotaurs rushing into the main room, and they've got to try and fight them. It's everyone fighting them, which again kind of works. We see that Red is using his weapons. So Red says like, hey, this is quite easy for me. I'm able to take down all these monsters. But Ghidorah's like, no, I can't do this, not like how you used to do this. So, go a little bit easier, make this easier for me. And I kind of get that, because part of me is just wondering, why are you constantly thinking that you're on a team? You would instantly go, well, no, I'm like down 4 members. So like Ghidorah here, my partner, isn't going to be able to do half of what they are going to do. So I need to kind of like rein it in a little bit. In the end, Ghidorah's like, why don't you just summon your giant robot ultimate attack move? And Red does this, and you generally think, hey, you're in a cave. It's not going to be able to house this because it's too big. And what happens? Yeah, it gets stuck in the cave and they can't do the entire attack. And they're like, why did you summon it? Everyone is distracted by the giant robo, and the Minotaurs are about to attack the third-rate adventurers. So Ghidorah saves them. And when they ask why, she's like, well, as much as I hate you guys, I've been brought up to kind of like use my magic for good as well as saving people. As much as I don't like you and I don't agree with what you said, I'm going to save people. And I kind of like that. I was like, no, that's kind of reasonable, which then will spark a bond near the end of this entire thing. But suddenly this giant monster that just comes out of nowhere is about to kind of destroy them, and Red recognizes this as one of the generals and says, hey, I can sense the energy of this is literally what one of the generals that I used to fight would be like. As Red tries to attack, he can't really get past the defense because it's got really tough defense. It reminds him of what his past used to look like. And I get this, I really do. It's flashbacks to saying like what weapons that they use. The flashback is set where they do most of the Sentai, so they've redrawn it and it looked absolutely amazing. You have this ice monster, Red gives the speech, Blue's able to defeat it. So they have the, as I've written it down, the Victory Chizunoi Buster, which generally is a massive kind of cannon. Because everybody's able to work together, they're able to use it. When they tried, the adventurers as well as like Ghidorah and all that, when they tried to use it, it doesn't work because they're not in sync, they're not friends. That's something that kind of really annoyed me a tiny little bit now thinking about it. But when Red says like, oh shit, like basically it doesn't work because we're not all in sync, and Yellow and Blue, when they were fighting, that's the reason why the cannon didn't work, and you see a flashback to that. But in the end, everyone gets the bond, like they all become friends, and they're able to use the cannon to take down the monster. Not bad, but you can see it happening, and the only reason why this happens is because Red's been hurt and he's demorphed, and the others kind of jump in to kind of save Ghidorah and that, so Ghidorah can heal. And again, not too bad. That gives him the new bond type of thing because they're saying, hey, we're repaying the debt. As soon as they take down the monster, it turns into an old man, which they're all like, huh, where did this old man come from? And I'm like, no, it's what's going to happen. It's like, if there are giant monsters, this is going to be a main thing for the rest of like the series. They take the old man back to town. They kind of say goodbye to the adventurers. They've all become better people. And we get the second part, which made me laugh, or third part, where effectively Ghidorah goes straight after the blood again, and he just goes straight away to transform, and then the old man disappears, and we get the kind of introduction to 2 new characters. We don't know the names, or I don't know them at the moment. And yeah, that is pretty much it. They take down the monster again because the guy's transformed, and thus therefore it's the end of the episode. But now we've got the good and bad points of the episode. My final thoughts, as you would say. Now, one of the things that really annoys me is I'm seeing this Sentai thing, and the way that they're portraying it is this is a TV show, and I don't really mind it, but but it kind of like makes me not think that this is all real. Like it's all some part of, I don't know, TV all the way through. And it's not very believable, and I know it's not meant to, but I generally kind of think that if you were kind of have this as an isekai sentai, I like that. Generally you wouldn't like throw back to this is TV, and you would kind of like take that element out, because again, like the first episode where you had the giant Kaiser going into attack and stuff, it didn't feel like it was a TV show, where they're trying to spin this as a TV show at the same time, and I don't really like it. I know we're on episode 2 already, and you know it may change, but right now I'm having a hard time believing that he's actually a hero. He's just an actor playing one, and I don't really like that. I do think they need to drop the bonds element as well, because it gets a little bit annoying. Like, we can't use the cannon not unless everyone's a friend. I don't like that. Now thinking about it, it's just irritating because it's not always going to work out, and I would rather they kind of leave that sort of stuff out, even though I know some people might like it. But to me, having this whole thing all the time of like, man, we've got the ultimate cannon, but everyone in the world needs to be cheering for it to work, and I'm like, it's not necessarily going to work like that, and it does put me off quite a bit. I think also having the Red Ranger focus on this all the time isn't going to be as good as what I thought it would be. I generally get that you want people to get along and be friends and you're helping, but again, it kind of really drops the character if they're always going to be focused. Now, I don't know if there's going to be an episode where he gets absolutely broken, which we've seen in the past, or he's just going to be like, I don't care anymore. But I don't want it to always focus on like the hearts of the world and the champions, and we've got to combine them together. I don't want it to be like that. I would like it to be a little bit darker, but I don't want it to be always like, yeah, son, gotta do this. Like, this rail cannon's amazing. It's been charged with the love of everyone in the city. I just don't want it to happen. But apart from that, generally is a good episode. The comedy was fantastic, and I generally am liking it. The last part of the episode where we see the 2 other characters reminded me of like when the 6th Ranger comes in, and we don't know too much about them, but they're overly powerful. They're going to do so much damage, and you want to know more. So I'm very kind of happy with how that was. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the episode. What did you think about it? Let me know down below in the comments. Are you liking this so far? Are you hating it? Let me know down below. Let's have a discussion. And while you're down there, why not like and subscribe and check out the Patreon as well as the channel memberships. Thank you very much for listening and watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. I want to say a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters, and I wanted to shout out Kimono Cat. Your help goes a long way to help support the channel, and if you want to help support the channel, the links to my Patreon and channel memberships are listed below in the description.
あらあら、チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。